You turn my mourning into dancing. You turn my mourning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love. Something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my mourning into dancing. 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 Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything.
Good morning, beautiful people. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thanks for popping on here. So let's see what we got on here. Vivian, good morning. Chuck, good morning. Bert, good morning, guys. Olivia, good morning, good morning. Karen, guys, thank you for popping on. And I think there are probably some more folks out there on Rumble. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get over there fast enough, but if you're on Rumble, good morning to you too. Yeah, all right, so we are gonna be in Luke. We're gonna be in Luke 12. Let's pull it up for you. Boom, look at that, we fancy today. I think I can even make it bigger. Wow. There we go. All right, so we're going to be in Luke 12, 54 through 59. So let's jump on in. He said to the crowd, when you see the cloud, he said to the crowd, when you see the cloud rising in the west, immediately you say, it's going to rain. And it does. And when the south wind blows, you say, it's going to be hot. And it is. Hypocrites, you know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and the sky. How is it that you don't know how to interpret this present time? Whoo! Jesus is throwing some punches, and I love it. So what is he talking about? He's talking to the Pharisees and Sadducees, right? And why is he calling them hypocrites? He's calling them hypocrites because they can rightly discern. He's saying, man, you can interpret like the wind and the wave, and like, man, it's gonna rain today, just like us. Like we can recognize, like, hey, it's starting to get dark a little bit. It's probably gonna rain, right? And so just as obvious as that, right? Like just as obvious as how, like, you can start telling what's going to happen in the natural senses, with what's happening with the earth and the sky. That's how apparent it is for these like these guys who are well versed and studied in the Tanakh and the Torah, and like for them to know, like they've read all the prophecies, they've memorized a lot of them probably. And so for them to say that they don't recognize, and they're not going to respond to the things of the Spirit and what's happening, to right, to what's in front of them, what God is doing, for them to not respond, to not have a reaction, to not recognize it, is they do recognize it. That's the point. That's why he's saying that you're a hypocrite, because you would react if it was when it's natural things. You react like, hey, let me put on another shirt. Let me not go outside because it's raining or whatever. But yet you're recognizing what God is doing, and yet you're not doing anything. You're not responding to it. You're not teaching about it and going out, right? And so he calls them hypocrites. You know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and the sky. How is it that you don't know how to interpret this present time? And so then he keeps going on in 57. He says, why don't you judge for yourselves what is right? And I kind of want to just make this personal for us, right? Like, how many times, and warning, conviction notice, how often do we throughout our day recognize the voice of the Lord speaking to our lives, telling us to do this or do that, and yet we don't respond, right? Or we say, no, not today. Let this just kind of be a check in our spirit, like, you know what, hey, I'm going to say yes to God more than I say no to him, right? And so God, if you're talking to me, if you tell me, to do something in the morning, and I don't have time or whatever, I feel like I make an excuse and I don't do it. The very next thing, I gotta say yes, right? Because I already blew you off once. I gotta say yes next time, right? And it's just kind of challenging ourselves to respond to the Spirit, because the more and more we ignore a voice, the more that voice gets drowned out by the other noise. And so God is always speaking to us. He's constantly speaking. And sometimes, or like, we can get to this place where we don't even recognize it, or we don't even hear it anymore, because we've drowned it out so often. Like we just turned it off. Like, I don't want to even. I don't even go there, right? Because there's conviction or whatever. Unconsciously, we've tuned out the voice of God because we've ignored it so often. And so now we need to do the reverse of that, and train ourselves to listen for the voice of God. And so when he's speaking to us, that we can take risks, and we can step out, and better understand what the Lord is doing, and understanding our times, like, so that we can recognize it. Just like when the clouds are coming in, like, oh my goodness, you better grab the umbrella, right? Just like that, like when we walk into a grocery store, like, oh man, we better buckle up. God's about to do something, because we see the presence of the God, the presence of the Lord coming in. And so, yeah, let's judge rightly. As you are going with your adversary to the magistrate, try hard to be reconciled on the way, or your adversary may drag you off to the judge, and the judge turn you over to the officer, and the officer throw you into prison. I tell you, you will not get out until you have paid the last penny. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on that. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. But yeah. Oh, you can't even see the scripture, y'all. My bad. Yeah. I think that we'll just stick to that first part, and that'll be our nugget for today. And I'll say meditate on these last two verses, 58 and 59. I know I'm going to probably 57 through 59, and just see if the Lord will, give us more clarity on what that is talking about, referring to. Because I'm drawing a blank right now. But let us judge rightly. Let us get to the place where we're saying yes to the Lord more than we're telling him no. When he's speaking to us, like he always do, he's faithful to speak. We're just not always faithful to listen. That we're going to start taking risks. We're going to be committed to hearing the voice of God and obeying what he says. All right. So I hope this was a blessing for you. And I encourage you to meditate on this scripture today. Let it speak to you. And if it speaks to you, share it with somebody. All right. So let Jesus be seen in you today. And we'll be right back here at 9 o'clock for some prayer. All right, guys. Love you. Peace.